This is a 1996 Toyota Landcruiser Prado, and more importantly, it's the car that I learnt to drive in. Now, learner drivers in SUVs and four-wheel drives is commonly thought of as a bad idea. You know, big car, hard to maneuver, learner driver, not the best thing. I had a lot of comments made to me while I was learning to drive. Maybe you're watching this because you're a learner driver and you're about to learn in something like this. Maybe you're a parent and your child's going to learn in something like this, or maybe you're just another average driver on the road who's a bit scared of learner drivers learning in something like this. I'm here to tell you that it's not that bad. I'm going to debunk a few things for you. Here's what I think. My first point is that this car is so easy to drive. It's got all the driving aids that you need, power steering. That's it. For starters, this car is super easy to drive. I had no troubles learning it whatsoever. I think this because of reasons like it's slow, it's not a fast car, you're not going to be going anywhere at light speed, it's going to be very, very predictable. Otherwise, you've got power steering. This one's an automatic, which made it easier, but if you want to learn a manual, I would encourage that more, but up to you, depends what you have available. Next up is a very non-threatening feature, and that is big profile tyres. Do you know how good it is to learn to parallel park in these things? I could get so close to a curb, have no threat of gutter rash whatsoever. If you did, you'd kiss it a little bit, just a bit of a rub against the tyre, and you'd be completely fine. I'm so glad I learned to parallel park in this thing. I was actually more confident learning back in the day driving this than I am now. But I've got to say, the best thing about learning in this car was, of course, the front visibility in this thing. Sitting up high in here, seeing both the corners of the car. This is an older model. A-pillars here back in the old cars are much thinner. Safety standards have changed a little bit since then, but oh my god, you can see everything. And I loved this while I was learning it. My favorite thing. Easily by far. With my pros to learning in a big SUV over, I'm going to start with the cons, and that is the equally bad rear visibility. Seeing out the back of these things sucks, and there's no arguing against it. If you're about 9 years old or younger, don't stand behind one because you cannot be seen. I have smashed into a big bollard. I learnt the hard way, and I tell you what, it's really good at learning spatial awareness, driving one of these things actually. Modern cars, they can help you. They've got rear cameras, rear sensors, and that contributes to safety standards these days. But back in 1996, not an option. You had to learn to live with it. Of course, to make my life easier, this had rear seats and a cargo barrier to really block off any glimmer of hope you had while reversing. One final thing I'm going to mention is to consider the environment I was learning in, that being a city urban environment. It's busy, it's congested, you get the picture. It's not fantastic squeezing into tight little spots. Blind spots in these things aren't great. They're not the worst, but they're not great. If you're in a small sports car, you're really, really blind to someone driving these things. Look, these have big side mirrors. They certainly help and aid the issue, but they're not going to solve it. I actually didn't have much of an issue with this point that I'm making, but you might live in a busier spot than I do. I don't live in the busiest city in the world, so it might be different. It's a bit of a variable. And that just about concludes all my thoughts in learning to drive a big SUV four-wheel drive. One quick thing I'm going to leave you with is that if your concern is that these things are going to roll, don't. Modern day SUVs, I'm talking 1996 as well, are very capable of handling their own weight and size. That's not an issue as much anymore. I hope this video has changed your thoughts a little bit. I hope you're more confident in learning to drive one of these things. I hope you're confident that your child is learning to drive one of these things. I hope that you're confident that another road user is learning to drive in one of these things. Now I'm going to leave you with me doing some parallel parking. Thank you very much for watching.